Hey, Charles, really appreciate you carving out a bit of time. You and I and a few other members from one of our companies had a great conversation. I think it was last week. You're actually potentially going to work with this company. And just wanted to kind of follow up with you. You said something that I know on our end we've been thinking about. It's something that actually is kind of near and dear to our hearts. During that conversation, you said, I quote, disasters happen with companies and founders that think they know more than the market. Would love you to explain what this meant, why it's important to you. I'll let you take it.
Sure. No, and I appreciate you having me on for certain. So this is coming from 27 years or so of experience working specifically with small startups with aggressive and extremely intelligent founders. The challenge is sometimes when it comes to being a passionate founder that finds a niche in the marketplace that can be addressed is that they understand the initial pain that can be solved, but they end up really getting into their own views of what that means, and they become very capability centric instead of looking overarchingly at competitive landscape, the market needs as they evolve over time, and the changing needs of prospects and customers that they are trying to serve. So part of the challenge is for founders to not is to not think that they have the entire solution nailed on day one. You have a great idea and you have tons of passion and you see opportunity, and that is super important. But as the market changes and as needs shift, both of those things will happen without the founder's permission. And you have to give yourself room to not know anything on some days where you say, are we sure we're doing the right thing? Do we need to stay more in tune with the market? Do we need to hold a focus group? Do I need to tap my marketing person to go and find out, are these needs being addressed or are they changing? And over the past few years, especially as we enter a post-pandemic world, I think it's super critical because most people beyond target markets and segments and TAM, SAM, SOM, and all the things that we count on as business people, the people underneath it are shifting. They're shifting their needs, and demographics are changing on a constant basis. Because of that, founders have to stay constantly in touch and in tune with what's happening in the marketplace. And my humble suggestion would be that those executives, he or she has to go down to the front lines themselves. Don't only task someone else to go find data. Go find out. Go to the front lines and discover it on your own. And from there, you can really steer the organization, and your approach to corporate governance will probably change a little bit.
It seems so obvious, and yet we see, a version of this very frequently. I'm just curious, you have any thoughts about why founders or companies sometimes think they know more than the market? Like, what's the why? The kind of rationale behind the behavior.
I think it's probably a bell curve. On the one side, you have inexperience. On the far side of the extreme, you have ego. Sometime in between, somewhere in between, you have someone who's like, no, we have a really strong sense of what we're doing. We're just gonna keep going, and they end up with this myopia. That's we're gonna solve this problem, and the problem's not going to change, and we're not going to change our approach. And so it's coming in this middle of this bell curve. It's coming from a really good place. It's unfortunately misguided because it's not constantly taking in data, um, and that's what's really needed in order to stay in tune.
Awesome. Well, hey, Charles, really appreciate this again as part of this series that we call Behind Closed Doors. We get to have conversations like this throughout the day with founders and company builders. And we felt like it was our obligation to share this with the world, these insights. So, again, really appreciate your wisdom here.
A pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.